I've called it my queer marriage poem because it's more inclusive of people of all sexualities and genders. And who here knows who Kate Bornstein is? Yay! Kate Bornstein is rad. If you don't know who she is, she's a super rad gender activist and an activist for many, many things. And I read an article of hers a couple of years ago. It really changed my perspective of the queer community's fight for marriage equality. And basically, she discusses the amount of energy that the queer community is putting into marriage when there are so many other things that desperately, desperately need our attention, especially when there's so much going on with bullying and so much suicide happening of queer youth. Also, she just discusses marriage as an institution of privilege, how it privileges people based on race, class, looks, anything. Read the article, go to katebornstein.com, she'll be much more articulate than me. That said, and I agree with everything she says in the article, I've continued to read this poem for a couple of reasons. Number one, I wrote it as a love poem. I wasn't thinking in terms of politics, surprisingly, when I wrote it. I wrote it as a love poem. And, Jesus. God doesn't like what I'm saying tonight.
Keep cussing him out every time you turn it off.
I do. No, that's Jesus, Emily. That's the Son of God.
He said goddamn.
Oh, goddamn it. Okay. Anyway, the two stories. The first is, I used to teach in a preschool. And one day I was walking by two little girls sitting at the art table, and one little girl said to the other little girl, "I'm going to marry you someday." And the other little girl said, "No, we can't get married because we're both girls and we'll go to jail." And what I realized was, in the minds of little ones, not legal means criminal. And in our culture, criminal breaks down to evil. And from evil spirals off hate crimes, suicide, 1,000 horrible things. That's the one story. The other story is, I read this poem in Boulder, Colorado. A woman came up to me after the show, told me that several years previously she was living in Kansas and her partner had been rushed to the emergency room. And because she wasn't family, she wasn't allowed to be in the room with her where she was being helped. And she spent the whole night going insane in the living room, in the waiting room. And her partner ended up dying that night. And she said she wakes up every day of her life not knowing if her partner knew how hard she was trying to get into the room to be with her while she died. And so let's just read this for her tonight. And you know, I don't know if marriage is, maybe it's one of the things we should be fighting for, but one of the things. Ba 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 dang 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 ding dong ding I do dip 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 do I do dip 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 ba 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 dang 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 ding dong ding I do. But the fuckers say we can't. Because you're a girl and I'm a girl, or at least something close. So the most we can hope for is an uncivil union in Vermont. I want church bells. I want rosary beads. I want Jesus on his knees. I want to walk down the aisle and the patriarchy smile. That's not true. But I do want to spend my life with you. And I want to know 50 years from now when you're in a hospital room getting ready to die, when visiting hours for family members only, I want to know they'll let me in to say goodbye. Because I've been 50 years memorizing the way the lines beneath your eyes form rivers when you cry, and have held my hand like an ocean at your cheek saying, "Baby, flow to me." Because 50 years I've watched you grow with me. 50 years of you never letting go of me through nightmares and dreams and everything in between. From the day I said, "Buy me a ring. Buy me a ring that will turn my finger green so I can imagine our love as a forest. I want to get lost in you." And I swear I grew like a wildflower every hour of the 50 years I was with you. And that's not to say we didn't have bad days. Like the day you said that checkout clerk was so sweet, and I said, I'd like to eat that checkout clerk, and you said, honey, that's not funny, and I said, baby, maybe you could take a fucking joke every now and then, so I slept on the couch that night. But when morning came, you were laughing. Yeah, there were times we were both half in and half out the door, but it never needed more than the stars on your skin to lead me home. For 50 years, you were my favorite poem. And I'd read you every night knowing I might never understand every word, but that was okay. Because the lines of you were the closest thing to holy I had ever heard. You'd say, this kind of love has to be a verb. We are paint on a slick canvas. It's going to take a whole lot to stick. But if we do, we'll be a masterpiece. And we were. From the beginning, living in towns that frowned at our hand-holding, folding their stares like hate notes into our pockets so we could pretend they weren't there. You said fear is only a verb if you let it be. Don't you dare let go of my hand. That was my favorite line. That and the time when we saw two boys kissing on the street in Kansas, and we both broke down crying because it was Kansas. And you said, what are the chances of seeing anything but corn in Kansas? We were born again that day. I cut your cord and you cut mine, and the chords of time played like a concerto of hope, like we could feel the rope unwind, the noose of hate loosening from years of people like you aren't welcome here, people like you cannot work here, people like you cannot adopt. So we had lots of cats and dogs, and once even a couple of monkeys. You taught to sing, hey, hey, we're the monkeys. You were crazy like that. And I was so crazy about you. On nights you couldn't sleep, I'd lay awake for hours, counting sheep for you. And you would rewrite the rhythm of my heartbeat with the way you held me in the morning, resting your head on my chest. I swear, my breath turned silver the day your hair did. Like I swore marigolds grew in the folds of my eyelids the first time I saw you, and they bloomed the first time I watched you dance to the tune of our kitchen kettle in our living room. In a world that could have left us hard as metal, we were soft as nostalgia together. For 50 years we feathered wings too wide to be prey, and we flew through days strong and days as fragile as sandcastles at high tide. You would fold your love into an origami firefly and throw it through my passageways till all my hidden chambers were lit with lanterns. Now every trap door of every pore of my heart is open because of you, because of us, so I do want to be in that room with you. When visiting hours were family members only, I want to know they'll let me in. I want to know they'll let me hold you while I sing. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-ba, dang-a-dang-dang, ding-a-dong-ding, I'm so in love with you. Baby, I'm so in love with you. Ding-a-dang-dang, ding-a-dong-ding, good.